Hello and welcome to EWTN Vatican. My name is Andreas Tonhauser and I'm the Vatican Bureau Chief here in Rome. We want to present to you the latest news and the stories behind the scenes of the Holy See here in this eternal city, and you can follow all of those stories on our YouTube channel and the other social media channels. Please make sure to subscribe. Also subscribe to our email and you will receive a weekly update on everything that is going on here in Rome.
This week on Vaticano, world leaders meet Pope Francis in the run-up to the G20 meeting. Discover with us the soft power that the smallest country in the world has. A traveling heart clinic offers free health checks to the poor in Rome. And two bells, giving a voice to the voiceless, receive a papal blessing. Meet St. Pope John Paul II's personal photographer, Adam Bujak, and uncover never-before-seen photographs of this Polish saint. For this and more, Vaticano starts now.
We're here right next to the Vatican. It is the smallest country in the world with a landmass of only 0.2 square miles. But it's also the administrative center of the Catholic Church, which at least in Western countries is losing members. And the mainstream media often references not only decreasing numbers of churchgoers, but also a marginalization when it comes to social norms and values. Yet, the Vatican is considered one of the most influential states in the world. A report from the US Embassy to the Holy See from 2013 highlights the huge political importance of the Vatican. The Holy See is unique to the world in its ability to pursue its own agenda. The Vatican, with its diplomatic relations counting 180 countries, is second only to the United States. And this importance was on display during the G20 summit in Rome. While the Vatican was not invited to the meeting of the 20 most powerful countries in the world, the most important guests of the conference made sure to pay reverence to the Holy Father while in Rome. We're here in front of St. Peter's on the day that US President Joe Biden will meet the Holy Father right before the G20 summit taking place here in Rome. With me is Hannah Brockhaus from Catholic News Agency, a Vatican expert and who's written a lot about the Vatican and the diplomatic ties with other countries. Is that something that you see as very unusual, that the US President is coming to the Pope before he participates in the G20 summit? And what does that mean for diplomacy at the Holy See?
It's not unusual. Obviously, visits between presidents, prime ministers, heads of states and government with the Pope is something that happens frequently. Often it even happens a second or third time during a person's time in position.
The G20 summit brings together world leaders to discuss very important future topics for our world, really. The Vatican will not be participating in this. However, some of the leaders of the most important countries in the world today will visit the Holy Father. Does that mean that the Vatican is still very important for diplomatic work?
Yes, absolutely. You'll notice with the topics that these leaders are bringing on their agenda to speak with Pope Francis, they want to talk about the COVID-19 pandemic, poverty around the world, as well as the global climate crisis. And you'll see that those are issues that are reflected then also in the agenda for the G20. So you'll notice that they want the opinion of the Holy Father. They want to speak to him about these issues. And then hopefully there in the G20, maybe we'll see some of the Pope's ideas reflected there. I think
Hannah Brockhaus from the Catholic News Agency is not the only expert on the Vatican who sees a continuation of the prominence of the Vatican's soft power. Vaticanist Andrea Gagliarducci from Aci Stampa is also convinced that the influence of the Vatican diplomatic corps is at best underestimated. He sees the Holy See's biggest strength as providing a platform for other states to interact and collaborate. On the visit of US President Joseph Biden with the Holy Father, Gagliarducci said,
"It's kind of interesting that he came and met the Pope in the same day as the Korean President Moon. I mean, it was by chance. They were both here, but President Moon already met the Pope in 2018. But there is another issue ongoing. The Pope could go to North Korea. There have been rumors that the Pope wanted to go. It's interesting because the US and Korea are very much connected in this push to have the Pope in North Korea. When President Biden was elected, the former Korean ambassador to the Holy See wrote an article in which he explained that Biden and Moon had a phone talk and talked about the Pope and the possibility for the Pope to go to North Korea. So that's how the Holy See becomes a center for any kind of initiative that can be diplomatic, but at the same time part of this, the so-called third track diplomacy. So an informal diplomacy with a state, that is the Holy See, that has no interest, no commercial interest, no economic interest, and so it can be a player on mediation.
The lack of economic and military power is something that many experts see as strength rather than a weakness when it comes to the Vatican's diplomatic impact. Edward Penton, who covers the Holy See for the National Catholic Register, the US largest Catholic newspaper, stresses the importance of the Pope himself.
Well, I think the papacy, the Vatican, has always been a certain hub, if you like, for international relations because of its neutrality, because of its good offices. A lot of nations want to use the Holy See's good offices in order to help their own diplomatic positions around the world, and that's something that is also dependent on the Pope as well, because the Pope can be very influential. He can be very much, as John Paul was, a rather sort of colossus on the world stage, and that was very effective in boosting the profile of the Holy See in terms of helping bring nations together to dialogue, to find other means of diplomacy rather than conflict or economic sanctions and so forth. So that's really the Vatican, the Holy See's approach to international relations, and that's why it's so respected and continues to be to a large extent. Yeah.
Penton also believes that it is the moral weight that makes the real difference, more so than economic or military power.
What the Holy See brings to the international scene is not, of course, military power, economic power. Those are elements, of course, it doesn't have. But what it does have is moral weight, and it can bring a lot of moral weight and moral suasion to international relations. And that is why a lot of nations around the world like it, because they often want to, if you like, to put it crudely, they rather want to co-opt that for their own causes. So if, for example, a nation is very concerned about climate change, for example, and they see that the Holy See is also concerned about climate change, which it is, then they can sort of co-opt the Holy See to add weight, to moral weight to that position. And that is why a lot of nations, a lot of governments see the Holy See as a great asset, really, in their diplomacy.
Diplomatic influence is always a means to an end, and never an end in itself. There are many instances showing that the Vatican uses its power for the greater good. With diplomatic ties to more than 180 countries in the world, the Holy See continues to be an important global actor, using its diplomatic impact for promoting significant international issues. It represents the interests of more than 1 billion Catholics around the world, and therefore it is right and just that its voice is being heard from the tomb of St. Peter's across the world. For EWTN Vaticano, Andreas Tonhauser.
When we return, learn about the Roman clinic dedicated to healing hearts in St. Peter's Square. At the heart of Rome and the Catholic Church, a band of doctors is dedicated to mending and preventing broken hearts. This Heart Cart is a mobile clinic traveling throughout Italy, providing free health and heart checkups for those most in need. For 9 hours, the clinic, part of an initiative known as the Streets of the Heart, stopped in St. Peter's Square, offering these checkups for the homeless and poor living in the area.
So the idea came from the group GVM, that is the Villa Maria group, and it started at the end of September, from the National Day of the Heart. And this mobile clinic that you see here behind me is going throughout all of Italy.
Sandro Carta, a cardiologist at Rome's San Carlo Dinanzi Hospital, says there are about 4 or 5 doctors that alternate shifts, serving around 100 people in one day.
The purpose is to bring attention to what the cardiovascular pathologies are, which are the leading cause of death in the world, one of the main causes of hospitalization, and with a specific focus on those that are at risk of cardiovascular diseases, and see how it is possible to prevent these diseases in some way by paying more attention to what the risk factors are.
According to the Italian Society of Cardiology, the heart attack rate tripled from 2019 to 2020. The number of people suffering from heart diseases increased to 2.5 million in 2019, and 50% of patients didn't return for a follow-up appointment. This data reinforces the clinic's mission to help prevent cardiovascular diseases and encourage people to seek medical treatment. Dr. Carta highlighted that the clinic directly answers Pope Francis' many calls to serve the poor and the needy.
So today is a particular day, which is dedicated to those who are defined as the last, the most needy, those that do not have easy access to primary care. We have received so many people in our mobile clinic.
Pope Francis showed his support for this initiative by sending Cardinal Konrad Krajewski, the papal almoner, to bring the doctors' rosaries personally blessed by him.
This one day, it was one day in Rome, but obviously, the mobile clinic will continue its journey, and there should be many more stops.
The mobile clinic will continue its tour, stopping in Naples, Palermo, and Agrigento before finishing in Taranto. After being seen in the mobile clinic, anyone with cardiovascular problems is invited to the San Carlo Hospital to receive follow-up treatment free of charge. The Holy Father rang and blessed 2 bells called the Voice of the Unborn, 2 days before he received American President Joe Biden, who publicly supports pro-abortion policies.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, buongiorno.
During the general audience, the Holy Father spoke out in defense of the unborn.
Che il loro suono annunci al mondo
May their sound announce the gospel of life to the world, awaken the consciences of men, and be a reminder of the unborn. I entrust to your prayer every conceived child whose life is sacred and inviolable.
inviolabile.
The voice of the unborn bells were cast in an old Polish foundry by request of Yes to Life Foundation, to be sent, one each, to the St. John Paul II Shrine in Lviv, Ukraine, and the Diocese of Guayaquil in Ecuador. Each is about 4 feet in diameter and weighs over a ton. President of the Yes to Life Foundation, Bogdan Romniuk, says that the initiative was born after he reflected on the shocking number of aborted children. There are 42 million babies, victims of abortion, worldwide.
No i wtedy przyszedł taki pomysł do głowy, żeby
And then an idea popped into my head to create a bell that would weigh a ton, which would also be eloquent enough in its design to say how important it is to protect life.
będzie mówił, jak ważna jest ochrona życia.
The bells will witness by traveling to different cities throughout Ukraine and Ecuador for people to ring them to show their support for the pro-life movement.
Cuando yo vi esa nota mediática de Así Prensa, justamente,
Estela Lea de Furlato read about the voice of the unborn from EWTN news resource in Spanish, Así Prensa, and decided to write to the foundation to raise the voice of the unborn in her country.
en la campana está la frase de San Juan Pablo II.
The bell has the phrase of St. John Paul II, love, defend, respect, and respect all human life, because only in this way will you achieve justice and peace. And if we do not defend the life of the human being, of every human being, we are not only talking about abortion, we are talking about euthanasia, we are talking about the prisoners in jail, we are talking about human dignity. So human dignity has to be for everyone, from the moment of conception to the natural culmination of life.
La vida hacia su culminación natural.
Estela Lea de Furlato traveled to Rome together with Auxiliary Bishop of the Diocese of Guayaquil in Ecuador, Bishop Juan Bautista Piccoli. He explained that the bell will journey through the country for 45 days before arriving at its final destination, the Cathedral of Guayaquil.
We want to go to the heart of these people and tell them, also to the simplest people, that the defense of life is a value of a human humanity and not of an inhuman humanity, where man kills his brother man. Worse, man kills children who have no possibility of defense. So we want to awaken consciences, because life is always defended at any time, at any moment, in any circumstance.
The ornate bells have multiple theological designs promoting the pro-life movement. An ultrasound of an unborn child. The words from Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I dedicated you. A DNA chain and a quote from Polish martyr, Blessed Jerzy Popiełuszko. The life of a child begins under the heart of its mother. As abortion is legalized more and more, the voice of the Unborn initiative continues to spread. President of the foundation, Bogdan Romniuk, has received numerous requests to cast more bells, and the next one will be cast for Argentina. Thus, the ringing of these bells highlights that the fight for life is far from going silent. Blessed Jerzy Popiełuszko, a man in defense of life and a priest fighting for the rights and dignity of all people, is a modern example of living out the pro-life movement, especially during times of persecution.
He spoke in favor of unborn children and promoted pro-life initiatives. Actually, he was like a prophet at the time. And not only for Poland, but also for other countries in Central and Eastern Europe.
Father Paweł Reitel Adrianik says that Father Jerzy's heroic defense of the sacredness and dignity of all life is an inspiration for all Christians to continue the mission in defense of the voiceless and protection of the most vulnerable. Blessed Jerzé's dedication to serving internees, healthcare workers, and young people, and encouraging them to follow Catholic values, made him a target of the communist regime.
On 19th of October 1984, he went to a parish outside of Warsaw. During the return journey, he was beastly murdered by security service officers. His tortured body was thrown into a river. It was a shock for Poles, for the Church, and for St. John Paul II. The communists killed an innocent priest who preached peace. This was actually a turning point in the history of Poland and Central and Eastern Europe, which greatly contributed to the fall of communism. This martyrdom united millions of people who had the courage to oppose the regime.
Nearly 1 million people attended his funeral. Marianne Popiełuszko, Blessed Jerzé's mother, was present at both her son's funeral and beatification 26 years after his martyrdom. She was an example of the Catholic values Father Jerzé promoted, as she was able to forgive those who had killed him. During his life, Blessed Jerzé lived out his vocation as a faithful priest, celebrating Masses in honor of his homeland and reaching thousands of people through his life and ministry.
Father Jerzy Popiełuszko was, as we would say, a normal priest. He lived in the communist time, which was a regime against human dignity in work and life. In this difficult situation of danger and violence, his motto was from the Bible: do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good.
Blessed Jerzy followed in the footsteps of two other great Polish saints, Blessed Cardinal Stefan Wyszyński and Pope St. John Paul II, all dedicated to preaching and protecting the dignity of man. When we return, we'll uncover photographs of St. Pope John Paul II at an exhibition in Rome. The Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas, better known as the Angelicum, hosted a photography exhibition on October the 22nd to honor an esteemed alumnus, St. Pope John Paul II, on his feast day. Adam Bujak is a Polish photographer who took many photographs of Cardinal Wojtyła before and after becoming Pope.
Ja służyłem Janowi Pawłowi II 40 prawie 3 lata.
I had served John Paul II for almost 43 years, and of course, this place is closely related to him. The exhibition was created during the communist times. It was a very tragic moment for Polish history. The communist system was full of hatred and contempt for the church, hence I made these photos in secret. I was secretly traveling with a friend to Częstochowa, to Jasna Gora monastery. In order not to be caught, we took side roads, and these were the times in which these photos were made. During the communist system, which was very difficult, which was detached from humanity, which neglected basic human values. However, what happened during that time was also a very uplifting image. There was a powerful move of the nation towards freedom, good, family, and the love of Christ.
Ku dobru, ku rodzinie, ku miłości do Chrystusa.
The exhibition of almost 200 photographs is called From Krakow to Rome, and it depicts not only the life of John Paul II, from bishop to pope, but also the strength of the Polish people during the communist time.
By looking at these photographs, I would like the students to know, to experience what the world looked like during the time behind the Iron Curtain. It was a closed world, totally different, like a concentration camp. I would like them to see that we lived there, that we had our enclave of freedom.
Adam Bujak was born in Krakow in 1942. He happened to meet the young Father Wojtyła when they were both neighbors in Krakow. Adam took his first photo of him in 1958 at his episcopal ordination and continued to document his life ever since. As John Paul II's personal photographer, Adam Bujak and John Paul II had a true friendship.
Ja go obserwowałem na co dzień, przez niejeden obiad z nim nie jadłem.
I watched him almost every day. Many times I had dinner with him. He said goodbye to me before he died. 3 days before his death, he had written me a farewell letter. And what did he thank me for in it? I illustrated his book, The Sign of Contradiction. It is about the cross. So 3 days before his death, the Pope wrote to me, "Thank you for the sign of contradiction." He knew he was going to die, and he thought about me. He thought about Bujak, who did an illustration for him. This was a beautiful experience, and this letter is a beautiful relic that I have after John Paul II. I also can't forget about our conversations that did not last minutes, but sometimes several hours.
To nie były minutowe rozmowy, tylko nieraz trwające kilka godzin.
Adam Bujak said goodbye to John Paul II at his funeral on April the 8th, 2005. After the Pope's death, he continued his photography, capturing architecture, customs, and traditions in Poland and around the world. In 2017, he was awarded Poland's highest distinction, the Order of the White Eagle. The exhibition is co-organized with the Adam Mickiewicz Polish Institute in Rome, the National Museum of Krakow, and the Angelicum's St. John Paul II Institute of Culture. Father Tomasz Podlewski is a student at the JP2 Institute and hopes to better understand the mind of the modern saint.
In JP2 Studies course, we learn about John Paul II not only as about historical person, not only as a hero of Poland, hero of the church, but also we learn here the kind of his thinking. We meet here his points of view, and we learn about John Paul II, about his philosophical fathers, about his ideas, yes, and also about his spirituality, his view on the God, and on the church, on the world.
The exhibition will be on display at the Angelicum University until December the 9th.